I feel he's fragile. He's in a very fragile place for the laughter. We'll see what happens. Okay. Hello, friends. This is Bill Donaghy from the Theology of the Body Institute. I'm here with my esteemed colleague, Christopher. And I want to throw a quote at Christopher that he's not ready for yet. It's very, very small, little tiny quote.
Have I ever heard it?
I don't know. It's from E.T. Sullivan. Do you know E.T. Sullivan?
I'm surprised. This is going to be a surprise.
It's going to be a little surprise. And I feel like this is a great quote to open up in this holy season of Advent.
Who is E.T. Sullivan?
I actually have no idea.
Is he an extraterrestrial?
That's a great movie, by the way.
We'll talk about that in another video.
We will talk about E.T. That was one of the formative movies of my youth. You know what? Scrap this quote. Let's talk about it. Here's the quote from E.T. Sullivan.
All right.
A human being, as far as I know. The greatest forces in the world are not the earthquakes and the thunderbolts. The greatest forces in the world are babies.
Dang! I want to just rejoice. I want to celebrate that. That is
I knew you were going to do that. I'm glad you're excited.
I've never heard that quote. Who is this guy? Is he a poet?
No idea.
Is he a...
Well, he is now.
He's extraordinarily insightful.
The greatest forces in the world are babies.
He captured there my experience of being present for the birth of my 5 children. Just like it is more powerful than an earthquake or any natural force. There's some opening of heaven and earth happening, and here we are, we're talking about Advent, right?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's where this all goes, to the womb of Mary. John Paul II says that every child conceived under the beating heart of a woman is a reminder to the whole universe of what happened in Mary's womb, the Incarnation. As if every child before Christ was conceived was pointing there, and every child conceived ever since is pointing back to this focal moment when heaven entered earth, kaboom, in the womb of Mary.
Kaboom in the womb.
Kaboom in the womb.
Great.
I kind of like that. Kaboom in the womb.
We should hashtag that. That's the greatest force in the universe.
Yes, is the kaboom in the womb.
So let's talk about that. Why does a little vulnerable, helpless baby, why does it work this magic? Why does it unsettle, destroy? Why is it such a powerful force?
Yeah, well, it says something about the greatness of what a human being is. There is, I mean, you could say it's true. There's something amazing when a squirrel is conceived, right? But it's not of the same magnitude of when a human person is conceived.
Right.
Something other is taking place. And you only see that when you live what it means to be a human person, which is the human person sees these deeper realities. Right. A squirrel doesn't know that there's a difference between a squirrel and a person, right? But person is the word that actually was coined by Christian theologians in the early church to say what the human being is and how it is distinguished from other animals. Right. We are animals, but we're not merely animals. No. There's something other to the human person, and we speak of the interior, right? John Paul II says in Love and Responsibility, it doesn't make any sense to speak of the interior life of an animal, right? There is an interior life that we have that has a depth, a magnitude. We have the ability to reflect on the meaning of existence. You know, squirrels don't look up at the stars and wonder what's out there. Squirrels don't reflect on beauty as something that awakens them to the questions of meaning. So the conception of a new human person, the birth of a new human person, is kind of like a bringing together of all of these forces of nature, because it's a natural reality, but also an opening to something more. Supernature.
It's supernatural, right? This is in babies, right? In babies is where worlds collide and heaven meets earth. It's disarming. I want to talk about that because this is the design that God entered into. He designed it and then he entered into it and became a baby. Why?
And his entering in is not an afterthought. It's not like he designed it and then he thought, oh, well, maybe I should enter in that way.
That's right.
John Paul II says the Incarnation is not plan B, right? There's only one plan of God, and the plan of God was forever that the second person of the Trinity would take flesh. And that means the womb is designed from the beginning to be the entry point of God into his creation.
Universe. Right, into the visible universe. And I think, too, when we talk about, animals and human beings and the difference in us, worlds collide, for the animals, a squirrel is born and it starts doing its thing. A colt comes, a foal of the horse comes out, it's walking within like 10 minutes. Animals instinctually know what's up, they're designed that way. But for a human being, 9 months in utero and then a number of years of absolute necessitated protection, stewardship, care, feeding. We can't just be like thrown out into the world ready to go.
So isn't that interesting? We were talking about the greatness of the human person, but there is manifested a very particular vulnerability.
Absolutely.
So how do we...
That stretches for years.
That stretches...
For years.
4 years. Yeah, I thought you said 4 years. I was going to say, no, it's more than 4 years. No,
for some, it's 40 years. Some of us are still growing.
Yeah. Well, that is... We can speak of the whole lifespan of maturity that is required.
Right.
So there's a maturity... This is getting to, I think, an important point. There's a maturity in the human person that is required, that is not required of a squirrel or of a baby horse. And that points to the greatness. This maturity is not merely a physical maturity. I mean, we can do parallels here and say, okay, we reach physical maturity, in terms of the capability of reproducing in our teen years.
Right, late teens, yeah.
But a dog reaches reproductive maturity within what? I don't know, a year or something.
I don't know. But it shows, too, that we need the family. We need the trinity of the family, the mother, the father, and the child working together. Vulnerability, dependency, giving, receiving, that you don't see as present in the natural world with the animals. So what does that say about God? And the fact that he comes into this structure, preordained from all eternity, they would enter into this. It's like the family means something. And babies at the heart of it, growing and maturing into future moms and dads who begin the cycle again. And this is Christmas. This is the Incarnation. This is it. It's like, look at this. This means something.
Yeah, I think not only does the family mean something, it's the foundation that gives us meaning.
Everything.
It gives us existence. And when the family is attacked, we lose meaning. And we see that in the very world we live in today. The very meaning of being a person is lost when the family crumbles.
Exactly.
The very meaning of our bodies is lost when the family crumbles. If you take out the family, you're taking out the foundation on which we find our purpose and our meaning. And that also brings us back to that kaboom in the womb.
Right.
That there is a kind of synthesis of powers, of physical powers, spiritual powers that come together in the conception of a human person and the birth of that person. And there are, being there, and I'll just bring into the light that your children are adopted. You did experience the birth of one child.
That's right.
Do you want to share that at all?
Yeah,
what your experience was?
The miracle of our Grace Elizabeth, who would be 13 this year. Just witnessing that, her coming into the world, and we knew she wouldn't survive. We knew she wouldn't live. But it's so interesting the moment. I'm just thinking of this as you open the door, Christopher. We were in the delivery room, and Grace was born, and someone, there's doctors, nurses, Rebecca Knight, someone sneezed, and multiple people said, "God bless you," and the doctor said that was Grace. She came out with a little sneeze, and everyone blessed her.
Grace sneezed?
Yes, our little baby came out with a little sneeze, which I've never even knew that was possible. Wow. But the doctor said that was Grace. So she got a blessing from everybody the second she was born. And she lived just a brief 10 hours, But that baby, talk about E.T. Sullivan's quote here, right? The most powerful force in the universe. We were all rocked by her presence all day long. She was held, kissed, cradled all day long because we knew she wasn't going to live. And January 4th, every January 4th, 13 years coming now, we celebrate her memory and the fact that I was able to baptize her in the delivery room.
Wow.
Because we knew she wouldn't live. So she's with God in heaven. That's a guarantee. She's been baptized.
I'll add one more point here. It's fascinating to me. I come back to this over and over and over again in my own personal reflection, in my teaching, that Jesus himself presents to Nicodemus that entry into the kingdom of God itself is a new birth.
Yeah.
Right? And here we discover the supernatural building on the natural in its most profound sense. Grace is the perfection of nature. How do we enter the kingdom? Jesus says to Nicodemus, you have to be regenerated. You have to be born again. So we see in the kaboom in the womb, this is just the foreshadowing of a greater kaboom out of a greater womb into eternity, into a new birth that is the life for which we are destined. All of that shows how what's going on in our bodies, specifically in our sexuality, in the generation of new life. It's not only a biological reality, it's a theological reality, theology of the body.
Always.
Lord, open our eyes to see how these great mysteries are present in and revealed through the very way you've made our bodies.
And this, one more quote before we wrap it up, and it's Chesterton, G.K. Chesterton. The most extraordinary thing in the world is an ordinary man, an ordinary woman, and their ordinary child. That is extraordinary. And so bringing this home, we're preparing for Christmas. This is Advent. And we're seeing in our yards, our neighbors' yards, we're seeing everywhere at Home Depot, we're seeing plastic images or statues of a man, a woman, and a child.
And a baby.
I love that. I love that it's present everywhere. Secular, non-secular, Christian, whatever. We see the Trinity of the family and the little baby in the manger all over the place. And we're singing songs on popular pop radio stations about this Holy Trinity of the family.
Conversely, what's being attacked, when the family is being attacked, is the mystery of Christmas.
Right. So this is a time to rediscover the most powerful force in the universe, babies, and the fact that the Word became flesh, the Word became a baby. So as we move closer and closer to this great feast of Christmas, let's just continue to open our hearts and be dazzled, be amazed at God's plan. And it's an invitation, right, to any baby, right, to stoop low, to get down to their level and to look into the face of this innocent child and realize like there is something supernatural, something divine in this. And it's happening all over the world all the time.
Awesome.
If you enjoyed the content of this video, don't forget to share it with a friend and like and subscribe.